Good, happy Tuesday morning, October 15, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this morning, so let's begin. First up, woman 79 killed by vehicle in parking lot of assisted living center, police say. Driver 80 cooperating with police, officials say. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cronin.
When family and friends come together on a beautiful day, what better place to be than in your own backyard?
The woman was hit in the parking lot behind me. As for this facility, it says safety is a top priority. First responders rushed to the parking lot of an assisted living facility in Nashua, where police say an elderly woman was hit and killed. Tonight, Bridges by Epoch says no residents or staff members were affected.
Very sad. Very, very sad.
The facility says the two people involved were a couple, arriving for an educational program this afternoon. Police say a 79-year-old woman was hit by a car and pinned underneath, and that the driver, an 80-year-old man, is cooperating with the investigation.
I came here to visit my mom, and I saw all the police and the ambulances and the fire trucks and all the police, and I just got really scared.
We didn't see it actually happen, but like I said, just terrible chain of events.
Firefighters used equipment to lift the vehicle off the woman. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The situation left residents and their families visiting them shaken.
A lot of people, are sad that this happened, and there's people in there that are dealing with it, all the way around. There's a support people, there's, bosses and stuff that are helping each other. There's counseling and stuff.
The facility stayed open during the incident. Epoch says it's profoundly saddened by this and adds it has extensive safety protocols, saying all of them were properly followed. And this facility says its residents are safe and largely unaware of what happened. The cause of the accident remains under investigation. Reporting live in Nashua, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Man suffers life-threatening injuries in stabbing near TD Garden, police say. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
Told that victim has some critical injuries. This all happened according to a witness just behind us here down the sidewalk. You might be able to see some investigators there looking at some blankets that are on the sidewalk there. This is Friend Street, right at the corner of Causeway Street, just outside the Garden. Now, that witness says that a man punched another man and a woman who were here on Friend Street a little earlier tonight, and then at some point, the confrontation escalated and the suspect pulled a knife, stabbing the man. Now, he says the victim was screaming that he had been stabbed, and we spoke with that witness just briefly before police took him away to be interviewed.
They were arguing with a guy, and from that instance, I seen the punch.
And then stabbing.
Yeah.
Kelvin, you ready, my man?
Sorry about that.
Thank you. So there you see that witness taken to be interviewed by police. Not clear what prompted this argument tonight, but police do describe the victim's injuries as life-threatening. That witness says that the woman who was with that man was not stabbed. We're live in Boston tonight. John Atwater, WCVB News Center 5.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Accused of domestic violence multiple times, man now charged with murder. Cases raises question in one county's justice system. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Amy Cavino.
We feel that if a customer wants their product and they're ambitious and they want to do it today, if we have it here in stock, we have the people, the trucking, and why put off till tomorrow what you can do today?
Visit us at powellstone.com.
On July 23rd, a 911 dispatcher took a desperate call from a woman in Manchester begging for help. Police arrived in minutes. It was too late.
Jennifer Burpee was dead. Her alleged killer, Damian Cease, was found hiding in the bathroom.
Investigators say she was beaten to death with a piece of furniture. Cease is now charged with second-degree murder.
News 9 Investigates uncovered Cease's lengthy, escalating criminal record and more on the murder victim who predicated her own death a year before it happened.
WMUR's Amy Cavino follows the paper trail to a tragic ending that is now driving change.
708, stage for PD. Assault.
A desperate call to 911 from this apartment high-rise in Manchester.
PD's on scene, step it up. Female down, bleeding.
Every available unit in the city dispatched to respond.
Miss Burpee was deceased, lying just inside the doorway of her apartment.
The alleged killer, Damian Cease, was found hiding in the bathroom. Manchester police take Cease into custody. Again. They've arrested Cease 6 times since 2016, twice for domestic violence charges that involved Jennifer Burpee. A third alleged assault against Burpee was investigated in August 2016. According to police, witnesses said they saw Cease kneeling on Burpee, punching her. September 1st, Burpee tells police she does not want to press charges. The case was closed. July 18th, 2017, another alleged attack here on Riverwalk Way. Burpee told the responding officer, "He's going to kill me." Cease was arrested. The charges were dropped the day he was set to go to trial because the victim was uncooperative. October 29th, 2018, another alleged assault. The affidavit describes a fight over alcohol. Then Cease allegedly strangles Burpee, leaving marks on her neck. According to police reports, Cease said, "I will murder you, I will bury you, and no one will ever find out." The charges were dropped this time by the county attorney's office in February. 5 months later, Jennifer Burpee was dead.
Domestic violence is inherently a very volatile situation.
News 9 Investigates obtained hundreds of court documents and police records for Damian Cease. The file is vast and reveals that at the time of every single alleged domestic assault on Jennifer Burpee, Cease was on parole from a 2011 assault of a corrections officer. News 9 obtained the audio file from a parole hearing in 2018. The recording reveals Cease has never received treatment for alcohol. The parole officer recommends residential treatment. Quote, hopefully a program would give him a foundation, end quote.
Pretty passive and laid back disposition when I'm sober. But when I drink, it's like a dog get from Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde. And
So you know you can't drink.
In letters written to the court, Cease describes being raped when he was just 5 years old and watching his mother battered on a regular basis. At times, he expresses deep remorse for his actions, writing, "I am ashamed of myself." A handwritten note on court paperwork in 2017 states Cease was being evaluated by mental health, citing significant mental health issues. but court records don't indicate if Cease participated in or received any type of treatment while incarcerated or while out on parole. Damian Cease has been before the state parole board 4 times since 2011. July 2017, an alleged assault on Jennifer Burpee. Parole board sent Cease back to prison for 30 days. January 2018, the parole board sent Cease back for 30 days after a burglary conviction in Manchester. December 2018, the parole board sent Cease back again after being charged with assaulting a police officer. The parole officer tells the board that Cease has
essentially been homeless the entire time he's been on supervision. He generally camps out in a tent in Manchester, various locations, so he doesn't have anywhere to go.
News 9 was there when Cease appeared before the parole board in August for yet another revocation hearing.
On July 23rd, 2019, according to Manchester Police, Cease assaulted his girlfriend Jennifer repeatedly, which resulted in her death at her residence located on Amory Street in Manchester.
News 9 Investigates attempted to obtain parole board records about Damian Cease. Our request was denied. The records are confidential. The chair, Donna Sitek, declined our request for an interview. The Hillsborough County Attorney's Office came under fire after attorney Michael Conlon admitted he was not aware a prosecutor in his office dropped strangulation and second-degree assault and criminal threatening charges against Damian Cease months before Jennifer Burpee was murdered.
Our experiences with the county attorney's office over the last year or so have just been horrible. Our cases are not being handled appropriately.
We would expect that a county attorney with a case like that should be in the loop, should know what's going on within his office.
Conlon had been in office 1 month before the charges were dropped.
And in this particular case, we had the unfortunate circumstance of not just a victim who was unwilling to participate, but who had recanted as to the facts of the incident.
Did the justice system fail Jennifer Burpee?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I want to answer that.
In early September, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office took over control of the Hillsborough County Attorney's office. Michael Conlon retains his title of county attorney, but the AG's office has assumed all criminal prosecutions in the county.
Okay, and there you go on that video on that investigation by Amy Cavino. C-Stack walks across New Hampshire to meet voters, talk about issues. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Customers will call in or email in and just tell us that I was at the store, and from the beginning of the sale till the delivery, it was a great experience. And as a business owner, that's what we strive for.
Visit us at powellstone.com.
My daughter actually loved the book To Kill a Mockingbird, and we used to read to her when she was very young. And in it, Scout's father, Atticus, said to her, "You can't know a man until you stand in his shoes and walk around in them." And so I walked across Pennsylvania to show people I want to learn and walk in your shoes when I was running for Senate. So I thought when I would come here, I'd do the same thing.
2020 presidential candidate Joe Sestak is on a 105-mile journey from one side of New Hampshire to another. He's currently in the Monadnock region en route to the seacoast and highlighting campaign issues along the way.
We started mental health. We'll be doing an autism event. We'll be doing a campaign reform one. I'm going to a VFW tonight to talk about veterans.
This should be easy compared to his 422-mile trek across Pennsylvania. And when he was ashore, the former three-star admiral has always liked to hike.
I backpacked into China the very first year that they opened it up for independent travel by Americans. I had hundreds of people in Wuhan and Chongqing. They never seen a Caucasian before. They just opened it up as I go walking through. I wish someday I have that many follow me here in a campaign.
Yes, it's a gimmick, but some voters see it as a way to connect.
It certainly is. He's going to meet real New Hampshire folk.
Candidates who decide to walk across the state have provided many a memorable moment here in New Hampshire. But the tactic has yielded 0 victories in the first-in-the-nation primary. Still, Admiral Sestak says this is about more than just winning an election.
I mean, I have learned a lot. Just meeting everyone, much like as an admiral, I get off the bridge wing, come down with the enlisted and sit on the mess decks with them eating after the last planes came home from Iraq or Afghanistan, just to be with them.
In Keene, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Sestak meets with incarcerated veterans, others in jail. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
We feel that if a customer wants their product and they're ambitious and they want to do it today, if we have it here in stock, we have the people, the trucking, and why put off till tomorrow what you can do today?
Visit us at powellstone.com.
Sometimes to their fault, sometimes not to their fault.
Joe Sestak is cutting a new path on the First in the Nation campaign trail, sitting down with incarcerated veterans at the Cheshire County Department of Corrections. The former three-star admiral barely mentioned his presidential campaign. Instead, he says he simply wanted to connect.
Just sit down and kind of exchange common stories. I mean, I really do believe Americans have more in common than differences, even when you're incarcerated. So we first sat down with the vets. And, you know, where you're from, what do you do, how did you enjoy it?
Even in the small talk, Sestak says there is validation and value.
Remind them that, you know, you were one of those that serve. You know, that great saying in the book of Isaiah when the Lord says, who will go for us, whom shall I send? Isaiah says, here am I, send me. That's what they did, and I want to remind them about that.
Sestak also visited the maximum security population and then met with women in their housing unit.
We average about 465 tours a year. Very rarely do people who are running for political office reach out to me and ask to tour the jail, and when they do, I'm excited.
Corrections Superintendent Richard Van Wickler says Sestak, the first presidential candidate to visit in his 32 years at the facility, also made time for the corrections officers, many of them veterans as well.
Don't forget, we have a lot of staff. Right, we've got 84 employees.
Candidates always say they like to meet people where they are, but jail is rarely on the list of campaign stops. Admiral Sestak says he doesn't want to give up on the people here, even if they don't vote.
Everybody should get a second chance.
In Keene, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker today. We have one candidate in New Hampshire today, Joe Sestak. He will be in New Hampshire today. His first event, speaking to students at Dublin School in Dublin, New Hampshire at 8 o'clock a.m. His second event on government role in society at the Peterborough Public Library in Peterborough, New Hampshire at 4 o'clock p.m. His third event, town meeting organized by local Democrats at Goffstown High School in Goffstown, New Hampshire at 6:20 p.m. And his fourth event, town meeting organized by local Democrats at Windham Senior Center in Windham, New Hampshire at 7:30 p.m. Michelle Obama would be front runner in New Hampshire if she ran, according to new poll. Former First Lady Michelle Obama would be the immediate front runner among Democrat presidential candidates in New Hampshire if she entered the race, according to a new poll. If you want to read more about that article, we will have a link for you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. CNN and the New York Times Democratic debate in Ohio tonight. When and where is the Democratic debate? The debate is being held at Audubon University in Westerville, a suburb of Columbus. It's scheduled to begin at 8 p.m. tonight, Tuesday, and is being co-hosted by CNN and the New York Times. It will be moderated by CNN anchors Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett and Times national editor Mark Lacey, who made the stage. The 12 candidates who qualified by having both 130,000 individual donors and reaching at least 2% in 4 qualifying polls. And the 12 candidates are Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, Julian Castro, Tulsi Gabbard, Kamala Harris, Amy Coney Barrett, Beto O'Rourke, Bernie Sanders, Tom Steyer, Elizabeth Warren, and Andrew Yang. U.S. futures point to a slightly higher open. U.S. stock index futures were slightly higher Tuesday morning as traders looked ahead to a new earnings session. Former Texas cop charged with murder for death of Black woman. Let's take a listen to this video from ABC News.
The growing outrage in Texas tonight, a woman killed by police in her own home. Body cam video shows an officer outside the house. He'd responded to a call from a worried neighbor about a door ajar. The officer then firing through a window of the house. The officer resigning today, the family accusing him of murder, and ABC's Marcus Moore talked with the family.
Tonight, authorities say the officer at the center of this fatal weekend encounter, where an innocent woman was killed inside her own home,
put your hands up, show me your hands,
is not cooperating with their investigation. The Fort Worth police chief saying after reviewing the video, he would have fired Officer Aaron Dean, but he quit first.
Had the officer not resigned, I would have fired him for violations of several policies, including our use of force policy, our de-escalation policy, and unprofessional conduct.
Family members say 28-year-old Tatiana Jefferson was playing video games with her 8-year-old nephew early Saturday morning and had left the front door open to capture some of the breeze. That open door getting the attention of a neighbor who called the department's non-emergency line.
The front doors have been open since 10 o'clock, and I haven't seen anybody moving around.
Police parking around the corner to do a welfare check. In the video, you can see Officer Dean walking around the back of the home, and that he never identified himself as an officer.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
Within seconds, Dean firing that deadly single shot through the window, killing Jefferson in front of her nephew. The shooting comes less than 2 weeks after Amber Geiger, a former officer from the nearby Dallas Police Department, was found guilty for killing Botham Jean inside his home.
No justice, no peace!
With anger growing in the community, Fort Worth city leaders announcing an investigation, but also apologizing for leaking that Jefferson had a weapon in her home, now calling that detail irrelevant. Tonight, Jefferson's family demanding criminal charges.
The fact that she got shot for looking through her own window, it's amazing to me that they could even try to justify it.
It angers me that my sister's not here. She won't even get to see 30.
And late tonight, Dallas police announcing charges for that officer, booking him for murder. The Fort Worth police chief had indicated that he had submitted the case to the FBI for possible civil rights violations. No word on whether the FBI is taking the case.
All right, Marcus Moore tonight. Thank you, Marcus.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.